As we think about the colonies as they were established, we can see here that this is an area that was settled first, or not first, but one of the primary areas, the Massachusetts Bay area. We have Plymouth Colony here, the Massachusetts Bay Colony, eventually Maine, and then we have this area down here, which becomes Maryland. We also have Virginia. Here's a close-up of Connecticut, New Haven colonies. People begin to come into the Jersey area. Here, the Carolinas, Georgia becomes part, a separate part, and so here are the early colonial grants, and then here are the ones a little bit later, 1662 to 1732. I want us to understand a phenomenon that occurred as people began to settle in America, and that's what I'm calling the emerging American. People who lived in the colonies over here are isolated from Europe, from England, from where they had lived before. They do not have the amount of people around, the amount of places to go to shop, to purchase things. They have to make it on their own. Now, they develop those things as time goes on, but there is a sense of isolation from everything from which they came. Now, what did that do? That encouraged individualism and independence. You could not depend on other people to survive in America. You had to do it yourself. And so that individualism, that independence becomes a part of the emerging American, what it means to be an American. The individualism often became contagious, so that if you other people with whom you live in a community are acting independently, if nobody else around is depending on other people to assist them, to help them out all the time, then you're going to be less likely to do so as well. You think about it even in your classroom. If almost everybody else is working, studying hard on their own, then that might encourage you to do so as well. So the emerging American is one who is an individualist. And also the independence of the Americans led to organizations of local governments. Because they're over here so far away from England, they begin to develop their own government, their own systems. And even if they were a royal colony under the control of the king directly, or even if they were a proprietary colony, they still had to develop ways that their local governments could function. So they were not dependent on the king to do everything, because they're living here and they develop ways in which to govern themselves. And so they become fiercely independent in the way that they organize and govern themselves. Although it was difficult, American colonial life brought a sense of hope and opportunity. If you remember back the letter that William Bradford wrote back to people back in England, he talked about what a great place it was and how he's so glad he's there. But he didn't sugarcoat. He said it's been tough and it's been very difficult, but the rewards are great. So those who came to America didn't have it easy, but they made something of themselves, and they could be proud of what they accomplished. So this emerging American is different than what Europeans were used to, what those in England were used to. The people that came to America came here because they wanted something better. They brought a sense of hope. There was opportunity here. They made something of themselves. And so they become fiercely independent. And nobody's going to tell them what to do. And we're going to see that begins to play itself out as we go along in the colonial period. All right, so here we have the 13 colonies from the New England area that we talked about initially, the middle colonies, and then the southern colonies, all along the coast. And we'll find out in the next chapter what happens to these colonies. All right, any questions as we have wrapped up our look at the development of the 13 colonies. All right, the rest of the time we have, we are going to review the middle and southern colonies for your quiz tomorrow.
Nice.
So, let me ask you, would you prefer, we don't have time to get the game out to do that, but would you prefer me asking questions and seeing who knows the answers, or would you prefer, does it work out better for you to quiz one another? The downside I see of me asking questions is only a few people might answer, and everybody else sitting there not thinking. That could be the case. Whereas if you're quizzing one another, hopefully you're engaged. So what works best for you guys?
Quizzing.
Nothing works. Nothing comes in, nothing comes back out again.
Quiz one another.
All right, how many would like to quiz one another? Stay on task and do that. Okay, how many want me to ask you questions? Okay.
No. Take my hand off the second option. Like you
All right. I think that it probably works best with quizzing one another. My experience is that seems to work best. So, find a partner. Make sure you're staying on task. That you are talking about the middle and southern colonies. All right. Find a partner and get busy.